So before you got roped into fighting fire for whatever reason that was, what did you do before that?
I owned a CrossFit gym. Yeah, for about a little over 8 years. I started out as a personal trainer at Gold's Gym, and I was just kind of frustrated with how much of my pay they were taking. And I was like, man, I could do this out of my garage. And so that's how I started it.
Yeah.
Took out a small loan, $15,000, and started my gym. Just bought a little bit of equipment. I went to school full time so I could get my GI Bill money, and that's kind of what I lived off of. And then I was able to take everything that the gym was making and put it back into equipment, growing the business. And we started with a 1,500 square foot location, and over the years we moved up. We had a 10,000 square foot gym. We had about 150 members at our peak. It was a great experience, but that was it. That was my whole life, was the gym, 7 days a week, the holidays, the whole thing, early mornings, late evenings. And it was awesome. It's where I met my wife. Got to change a lot of people's lives, but I was kind of like, in my 20s, that was okay. As I started getting to my 30s, I was like, I don't know how sustainable this is.
Right.
I tried to kind of remove myself from it a little bit and, scale it, run it, having other coaches run the classes and stuff. And it just didn't do quite as well. And I was like, man, I don't know if there's a long term for this. I don't see the end game for this. I was like, I think it's probably time to find something else. I was getting to the point where I was really burnt out. And I met a guy at my gym who worked for Wrightsville Beach Ocean Rescue. And he was like, man, you look like you're really burnt out. He's like, you should come to work in the beach for a summer. I was like, man, I'm not going to go lifeguard with a bunch of kids. And he's like, I think you'll be surprised. And I was like, all right. So the night before the tryout, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. No preparation. I've been lifting a lot of weights. I wasn't really even doing CrossFit. I was just Olympic lifting. So I was strong as hell, but I hadn't run. I hadn't swim. Showed up to the tryout. I was like, this is going to be a joke. And then I look around, and there's a bunch of dudes in Speedos with their college swim caps on. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is serious. And I made it, but I was hurting. And it just evolved from there. I found myself working with a lot of really good people. Met a lot of guys from Wilmington Fire Department that were smart, physically fit, positive, fun people to be around. And they were like, hey, man, you ever thought about being a firefighter? Nope, never had it. Never even crossed my mind. And they're like, you should try out for the academy. And I was like, well, I got this business, And over the summer, they kind of kept working on me, and I was getting more and more frustrated with the business. And hiring process opened. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And initially my plan was I'll do the fire department, and then I'll just keep the gym on the side. And then it just became more and more of a headache and harder to do. Thankfully, my wife picked up the slack for me big time with running the business while I was in the academy. And then I just decided, you know what? I found a place where I'm happy. This is a job that I enjoy, people that I love. And I think it's time for me to fully commit to this and close that chapter. So tried to sell the gym. It didn't really work out too well. Ended up closing it, it was sad. It was a good place for a lot of people. They really counted on that place. I hated to see it close for them. But for me and for my wife, I think it ended up being the best thing for us.
Yeah, that, like you said, that season had exercised its course of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's the time frame on this? When you went from the CrossFit gym to Wrightsville Beach Rescue, what year are we talking about here?
Let's see. That must have been 2015. 2016 actually would have been my first summer at Wrightsville Beach.
I'm trying to correlate because swimming didn't become a thing in CrossFit until, of course it was like a thing always from the beginning, but it didn't become popular in CrossFit
till years down the road.
Yeah, till probably 2016 or 17.
Yeah, they found out they could really take these guys out of their comfort zone. These guys that were beasts in the gym, they're like, let's put them in the pool and see what happens.
Swim like a rock.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like, oh shit.
Yeah, this is a problem.
I got to learn how to swim real quick.
So I was trying to put together how that worked out. If you weren't swimming while you were bringing up through the CrossFit stuff, why did you feel comfortable swimming to go to Wrightsville Beach?
So growing up, that's the only sport I did. I swam year-round from the time I was 5 until I was 17, and I did pretty well at it, and I loved it. Swimming was basically my life growing up. I got kind of burnt out with that, and I always thought I would swim in college, but I ended up joining the Marine Corps instead, so then I kind of just never looked back at swimming. And when I got to the beach, when I was going to try out, I was like, I used to swim. I'll be fine. And then, of course, all the college swimmers, I was like, oh, man, these guys are out of my league here. But it kind of helped me rediscover my passion for swimming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any kind of water stuff in the Marines?
Yeah, so I was a recon Marine. So we're
I
amphibious.
like how you just glazed over that. I was a recon Marine. No big deal.
Amphibious Reconnaissance. So we do a lot of amphibious type missions, a lot of swimming. We would, like during recon school, there was like probably a 2-week period where we'd be out in the ocean every day out in San Diego, jump out the back of a helicopter with all your gear, probably, 60, 80 pounds of gear.
No big deal.
Throw your fins on and swim for a couple hours, hit the beach, run 4 or 5 miles. So there was quite a bit of swimming involved with that.
Yeah.
Which again, I was like going to the tryout. I was like, oh, this would be a breeze. And then I was like, I'm kind of out of shape for this. I think it was a wake up call for sure.
Yeah.
How long did you serve in that capacity as far as your Marine Corps career went?
So I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, 2004 to 2008. And I guess about 2.5 of those years I was in recon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get sent anywhere? Did you get?
Yeah. So let's see. When I first came in, I went through boot camp on the West Coast. I actually, I was a young naive kid when I joined. I was like, I walked into the recruiter's office and it was like his eyes lit up because I was like, man, I don't care. I just want to be a Marine. Put me wherever you need me. Well, that was dumb.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want some dress blues and I want to go to war, so I got made a bulk fuel specialist, which it actually kind of has a little bit of correlation to the fire service because it's working with a lot of hose and pumps.
Yeah.
But I think basically in hindsight, the bulk fuel specialist was a really easy way for them to train a lot of Marines with minimal training, and then they could send us to go do whatever. But after I joined, I found myself in Okinawa, Japan, working in a warehouse, pushing a broom, and I was like, man, this isn't really what I had in mind joining the Marine Corps. And my platoon commander was like, man, you got to get out of here. Like, there's more for you to do. He's like, there's a tryout for recon tomorrow on the next base up the road. He's like, you should do it. And I was like, man, I don't know. I think like those guys are machines. I was like, I'll give it a go. I used to swim. I think I probably could do it. Went, tried out, made it, got my orders to come to Camp Lejeune and go through recon training. And that was like 3 months, basically. It's called RIP, like RIP, Recon Indoctrination Platoon. And basically it's just a process of attrition. They want to just weed people out. And probably 60 to 70% of the guys either quit or get hurt. And it's not really even there to get you in shape. It's there to break you. If you're going to break, they want to break you then, either physically or mentally. But after 3 months in RIP, I earned a slot to go to the basic reconnaissance course, which was in Coronado, California. And that's another, I think it was 8 or 10 weeks back then. Similar to RIP, but much more formal. A lot of benchmarks you have to meet, a lot of testing, just very, very physical, very mentally grueling. Again, trying to weed you out. I would say probably parallels BUDS pretty well. It's run on the same base as BUDS. We're working side by side with the BUDS classes lots of times. Graduated from there. It was like, man, that was one of the happiest days of my life. I was like, after 6 months of just getting hazed day in, day out, I was like, finally, like a week before graduation, my first sergeant calls out and he's like, Nelson and this guy. He's like, you're all going to sniper school when you get back. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. What an opportunity. But I'm like, that's another 3 months of getting hazed every day.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, well, we'll just, that light at the end of the tunnel just got put back a little further. But that was a great opportunity. So I came back, got to go to sniper school, graduated by the skin of my teeth. I mean, same thing. Probably half the guys get washed out of there for whatever reason. Went through airborne, some other training, an urban sniper course, and then deployed to Iraq in 2007. We worked out at Camp Fallujah, but kind of all over the country. I mean, they would just kind of send us wherever we needed us. And then came back from Iraq. I had like 6 months left in my 4 years, and I got out. Which that, honestly, getting out of the Marines was probably one of the hardest decisions I ever made. I mean, I loved the Marine Corps. I was, I had done all this stuff to build up my career. And I was somewhere where, I worked really hard to get there. I was very proud of what I did. I loved the guys I worked with so much. But ultimately, I was kind of looking at the guys who had been in for a while. I was like, man, they don't look that happy.
Right.
And they're like 40 and look like they're 60. I'm like, I don't know. And they told me, they're like, you got a year. You can get out for a year. You can come back, still get your bonus, which was $90,000 at the time. You can keep your rank and you can come right back. And I was like, man, this is great, but there's a whole nother world out there. I'm gonna give it a shot. And I was like, plus I was like, I survived. I made it. I was like, I don't know if I want to push my luck too much more,
Sure.
So I got out. And
how old were you when you got out?
I got out like right after my 23rd birthday.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
actually,
lot to have done by
No
23.
shit, right?
Yeah. I was actually I went on terminal leave the day before I turned 23. The actual day I got out of the Marine Corps was 13 years ago today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. But it was a tough decision, and I would say I didn't really have a great plan for getting out. I was like, oh, I was a recon Marine. I can do anything. Whatever I want to do, I put my mind to it, I can do it. It's be a piece of cake. And that wasn't really the case. You know, I got out, and I was like, the biggest thing was you're just starting all over. Like, I had just worked my ass off for all these years doing all this really challenging, dangerous stuff. And now it was like kind of in a way that was all gone. It was like being a private all over again. You're out in the civilian world. People think it's cool that you're a recon Marine, you're a sniper, but what does that really mean for whatever your job's doing, you know? Like, people are like, well, what skills do you have? Like, well, I can shoot people from far away.
Yeah.
I can swim really far.
I can swim good, and I can, yeah.
Put 80 pounds on my back, I'll go run 10 miles.
Yeah.
But, like, what job are you going to do with that, you know? So it was hard. I got a job as a personal trainer right away, but, I mean, I love physical fitness. I knew how to work out, but now I'm like, I have to translate that into 60-year-old women, you know, high school athletes, everybody, a broad variety of people.
And you can't haze them.
You can't haze them.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, exactly. You have to have communication skills. You have to don't injure them. You have to, so
Would you say your time going through recon training and all that stuff, running side by side and parallel with the guys in Bud, would you say that aided in your communication skills?
It took a little work at first. I wasn't sure how to be. I felt like I was one extreme or the other. I was either going to be like, I'm going to treat these people like recon Marines, you know, and then I was like, I can't do that. I need to be nice to them. So then I was like,
I don't know how to be nice.
Yeah, I don't know how to be nice. And then I'm like, am I being too nice? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I know how to push myself. Why don't they understand? Like, just push. Like, I know it hurts. Just keep going. Like, I don't care.
It's supposed to hurt.
Exactly. It's supposed to hurt. And it took some time for sure. But like I said, with like the skills, the specific skills that you build as a recon Marine or a sniper or whatever, those don't necessarily carry over. But the more like intangible skills, like being able to overcome any obstacle, being able to figure it out, those carried over well. So I was like, well, I figured out all this other stuff and I succeeded. So I just have to use that same mindset. I'll figure it out. I'll learn. And also in recon, it's just, there's very much a mentality if you want to be the best at everything you do. So I was like, all right, I'm not very good at this right now, being a personal trainer, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to try and be the absolute best that I can be at it. And I mean, there's always something to learn, but it took some time, but I feel like I definitely improved a lot over the years. From the time when I left the fitness industry to the time when I started, I look back at some of the stuff I did and I was like, man, I don't know if I really knew what I was doing back then, but I figured it out.
Let me easy microphone.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. And this is just for me. Would you say that the way that the teaching style of the instructor cadre, when it comes to something so specific as what you went through with the military, are they more of the where I'm getting at with this, or where I'm going is the fact that you said that the ability to figure it out. Did they give you a task and say, okay, here's your task, have at it? Or was it more of a line by line instruction process of how to get to an end result? Does that make sense? The question that I'm asking, does that make sense?
Yeah. So, obviously it varied from instructor to instructor, but I would say the instructors that stand out in my mind to this day, they're the ones that were willing to break it down 20 different ways until you understood it. There was always a standard that had to be upheld, and they were not going to bend on that at all whatsoever. But I remember, for example, when I was in Scout Sniper School, part of the curriculum is stalking. And basically, you're up on Camp Lejeune. There's a big field with brush that's maybe anywhere from, it might be bare or it might be brush like 2-3 feet tall. And you've got to crawl your way up within 200 yards of a truck that's got instructors sitting on the roof of the truck. And you got to crawl up, fire a blank at them, and then an instructor in the field will come over to you. He's going to stand within 10 feet of you, and he's going to call the truck, and he's going to say, hold up a card. The truck's going to hold up a card, and you've got to be able to identify what it is. It might be a shape, it might be a letter, whatever. They're just confirming that you actually have good eyes on the target. Now, once you identify, then the instructor on the truck is going to talk to the instructor in the field, and he's going to try to walk that instructor onto you. And so you've got to be able to hide. And he knows what the instructor on the truck, when he's looking at the guy in the field, he knows that there's a sniper within 10 feet of him somewhere. So he's looking for any sign of your location. So it has a lot to do with cover and concealment, camouflaging yourself, finding a good shooting position, etc. But that was something that a lot of people struggled with, myself included. And I remember I had an instructor who made himself available, came in on a Saturday and a Sunday. He said, I'm going to help you guys figure this out. And so he really went above and beyond and taught us every little thing that he could, everything he knew to help us succeed. And ultimately, I credit him for me passing sniper school. So, yeah, I'd say it's a little bit of both. But again, there's always a standard that has to be upheld,
Sure.
and it's never bent at all.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm understanding what you're saying, and it sounds a whole lot like what we just discussed with Mancos a couple weeks ago, but it seems like the instructors that will identify a task, whatever the task may be. In your instance, it was, okay, here's your target. You have to get within a certain yardage of it and then make a call or do whatever you need to do. But if you struggle with that, we're going to help you fix it. The instructors that give you a task, let you work it out. And if you struggle, provide aid versus, okay, this is the curriculum. This is the way that we're going to teach it. And it has to be this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And there's no other way.
Yeah.
Does that seem to, the ones that kind of let you, obviously as long as you're not violating the standard, the ones that let you kind of navigate your own path to kind of figure your own way out about going about it, to me, that's the ones that stuck out the most in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then it's almost like they let you fail a little bit.
That's right.
At first. And then you figure out where you're failing.
That's right.
And you try and work through it. And if you can't, then they kind of help you fix that one thing.
Perfect. Yeah, I got it. So, okay, so we learned how to swim in the Marine Corps and swimming through high school. That got you to Wrightsville Beach. So the guys at Wrightsville Beach, we won't mention their names. You all know who you are. Mm-hmm. They coached you in to join the fire department.
Yeah, they did. And so I grew up in rural Indiana, and I had a little bit of contact with some of the firefighters there. And, you know, they're volunteers. They're good guys, but they weren't like, I don't want to knock them, you know, but it wasn't like something that I would aspire to be necessarily. Like, oh, that's cool, they do that. I never really thought of it as a career because I was only exposed to volunteers.
Yeah.
But when I met these guys that worked for Wrightsville Beach, they were professional, they were helpful, they were friendly, they were just very sharp guys all around, and it just left a really good impression on me. And that I was like, that's something I would aspire to be. And I could see also how passionate that they were about it. And I was like, man, that seems like a good life, you know, the schedule, getting to help people. Yeah, so it didn't take a lot of arm twisting to get me to apply. I was like, yeah, I want to be like those guys.
Yeah, I heard you rattle off the list of names at dinner. I don't mind if
No, absolutely not.
But Tyler,
Yep.
he's doing the real estate thing now. That guy, what a great guy.
Yeah, huge credit to Tyler Howell. I mean, he was probably more than anyone. Him and Mooney especially. I spent a lot of time with those guys on the lifeguard stand, and they were really like, you should really think about this, man. It's a good life. And again, I was like, these are smart, like sharp guys. I like them. They're personable people.
Yeah, Eric Moon too.
Yeah.
Yeah, legend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Was there any draw from like inside of you, the way that you felt with those guys on the lifeguard stand, knowing that they were firemen and coming out of the military? Was there any draw to kind of...
For sure.
Yeah.
So when I left the Marines, I was kind of like, man, that was super dangerous. And I don't know if I want to be dealing with these life and death situations again all the time. I kind of want like a peaceful life, focus on my family, have something a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more healthy. But then when I got to working at the beach, I kind of got a taste of that adrenaline again. And I was like, oh man, I kind of miss that. And then I was like, being a firefighter, it actually sounds kind of cool. I could get a little bit of action, a little bit of excitement, but I don't have to necessarily live it every single day. I don't have to deploy for long periods of time. It's like
Right.
I can get a small dose of it, and then I can go home to my family in a nice, peaceful life.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal is improving people's lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's probably, you know, everybody says it might sound cliche, but that's really the best part of the job is getting to help people.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, like everybody obviously gets excited about the cool things that we do. You know, you're up on a roof, venting the roof, and you got a big fire, and it's all exciting. But I mean, obviously we love that part of the job, but something as simple as just go helping an elderly person out of the bathtub might not seem like that big of a deal to us, but to them it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And that's very, very rewarding. Just the peace of mind that people can have knowing that there's a number that they can call 365 days a year, no matter what time, and someone will come help them. Getting to be on the other end of that number and be that person, I mean, it's awesome.
It's definitely cool to cut the hole in the roof too, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We helped the old lady as a byproduct, but we really want to cut the hole in the roof. So when you decided to make this commitment and apply to the city of Wilmington, what was that like when you got the call and they were like, all right, let's give this a try?
Man, I was over the moon. I was like, I was ready to turn the page on that chapter, and I was like, I get to turn the page now. I had kind of mixed feelings, or it was kind of a mixed moment, I would say, because I was sitting on stand with someone else who applied when I got the call, and he didn't get the call. He ended up getting the call the next summer, and he's a great guy, and I'm glad he did. And he was very happy for me, but I hated that he didn't get hired at that same time.
Yeah, a little awkward moment there. Like, yeah, your phone's not ringing?
That was nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. Okay.
What, like Tyler and Mooney and those guys, what had they built this job up to be for you? I just want to see what that was versus reality.
Man, Mooney made it sound like we were like busting doors open, knocking down fires every day, all day, then going out in the morning after a fire, getting beers with your friends. You know, he definitely told a lot of those stories, which made it sound really exciting. Tyler, I think, was a little bit more realistic with it, but they both made it sound really good in their own ways.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You got to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
They sold it. Yeah, they sold it well.
I think you got a new WFD recruiter right there. Yeah. Nah, that's perfect, dude. So getting into recruit school now.
Yep.
What was that like?
Man, it was long. It was just a long. I mean, it's like a 7-month academy, I think, when I went through. And Tyler ended up being our recruit academy instructor, which was cool because I already had a relationship with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was exciting. Most days, like I'm going to work, I'm doing something totally new, which was refreshing, and the academy was run very well, and it gave me a very good impression of the department coming in. I was impressed. I was expecting it to be. I don't know, maybe less professional, less quality instruction than what it was. So I was very happy with what I saw in the academy. I was like, this is definitely a good organization to be a part of. The instruction was very thorough. You could see that almost everyone we worked with was very passionate about their job. And you really build some strong bonds with those people you go through the academy with. I mean, you were with each other every day. You drive each other crazy, but you also love each other. But I think back to my academy time with mostly just really great memories. It was a fun time for sure. But it felt like it was never going to end, And then as you get closer to the end, you're like, shit, like next week I'm going to be on a fire truck. Like, who knows what I'm going to be seeing? I'm like, I hope I remember everything. Like, I don't want to screw up,
Yeah.
I think everybody probably goes through that a little bit, but as it gets towards the end, it starts to get very real, and you're like, it's not training anymore. Like, we're going to be doing the real thing.
I remember it was just like this sense of as my recruit class wound down, or my recruit school kind of wound down, this sense of comfort. It takes this amount of time. You kind of get comfortable. You get comfortable with all your people that you're working with every day, and this and that, and then the anxiety of oh shit, I'm going on a truck and I have to start over. I have to start this whole new thing over because I got a new set of people to learn, a new set of expectations to meet. So it's like this feeling of comfort that I'm just getting to is snatched away. Now I got to do it again.
Absolutely.
Was there any of that you felt?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 'Cause you get to know those people that you're in the academy with so well. And you know exactly how they're going to behave under certain situations. You know who's going to excel, who's going to struggle, who might need help. And then, yeah, like you said, you're like, I'm going to be on a truck with people I don't even know.
Yeah.
And we might be doing who knows what, and we haven't even practiced it together yet. So it definitely makes you nervous, but you just have to put a lot of faith that those people are going to also be good.
Steve, I think you can get on board with this question as well. But was there anything while you were going through recruit school at any particular portion of the training that you remember looking back and be like, this is really dumb? what we're doing right now is really dumb.
Oh man, I'm sure there was something. Some of the classes were just so long and dry, and I'm like, why do we spend so much time in this classroom?
Tarp folding.
Yeah.
There we go. Tarp folding. Yep. And maybe some of the stuff at the time you thought it was dumb, but then you see how important it is. Maybe all right, I don't want to knock on our prevention people because they're amazing, but when you're going through like the prevention classes, you're like, oh, this is kind of boring. But then when you get online or you look at the statistics and you see how important it actually is, and it's not glamorous, it's not the cool like forcing the door open, going in with the hose line, but ultimately the prevention side probably does a lot more to save people than anything else.
It has its place for sure.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, tarp folding.
Yeah, tarp folding. You remember that like 1 month before the end when the rumors start, like who's going to go where and why you would never be on this truck and you're going to be on this truck. My class was that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had. Did they tell you guys before graduation?
I think I got a message from one of the people, from Josh Baltz, who is in my company. I think he messaged me like 2 nights before graduation, and he's like, "What's up? You come to Station 8?" And I was like, "Sweet,
out.
Yeah." I was like, "Sweet, this sounds good. That sounds like a good place to be."
Or a great prank.
Yeah, or a great prank. The joke in my class was always that someone was going to Station 15, which is the slowest station in the city. And when you're a young recruiter, young probie, you want to be there in the action. You want to be at a busy station. But nobody went to 15.
Was there rumors coming out and things like that about people that you didn't want to be with?
There were. I felt like I got along pretty well with all the instructors and all the people that we encountered, but there were certainly recruits in my class who, like, maybe during a class had kind of pissed off an instructor or something like that. They're like, God, I hope I don't get sent to that company. That guy hates me, Yeah. But it all works out.
Was there one instructor or a company that came and helped out or anything like that sticks out in your mind that was just a above and beyond? We have them in ours. I mean, I can reflect on who that was for me, and Steve has on his several times. But just the one person you're like, that guy right there.
I would say it was probably Truck 8 C shift at the time, which is, I ended up going to Engine 8 C shift. I think that was Earnhardt, maybe Zach Kinney, Baltz. I was like, damn, those guys are sharp, and they cared. They were super helpful. And I was like, and they're extremely knowledgeable and passionate. I was like, that seems like a good place to be. So when Baltz messaged me, it was like, you're coming to 8, I was super stoked.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's really good.
Earnhardt loves the fire department.
Yeah. Very, very passionate guy. Super knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Earnhardt.
Yeah, I think the first time I met Earnhardt, I was still at Station 19, and I believe he might have been, I think he was full-time with the city, but him and Tom were super close, and Tom was the chief of Federal Point back then. He was obviously a battalion chief with the city. He might have even been on the truck back then. I don't know. All the years run together now. But that's when I met Earnhardt. I think he was volunteering at 19, so he was a volunteer for Federal Point. And I remember that big old red Excursion, or that was F-250 maybe, with a camper shell, whatever it was. But he had a queue up under that thing, son.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, this dude, he's got it going on. Yeah, Earnhardt's a good dude.
Yeah,
for
man.
sure. Super good dude. All right, so you're assigned to Truck 8.
Yep, Truck 8 C shift. Been there, gosh, I guess a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. There was some time in there in between where I was working with the Recruit Academy, but yeah, I liked it. I love the guys I work with. Calvin Rao, he was my best man in my wedding. Now he's my master firefighter. David DeVilbus, another guy, super sharp, very passionate about the job. And Captain Kraft, but unfortunately, I'm getting transferred to Engine 9. Oh, I shouldn't say. I don't know. Those guys are good too, but I'll definitely miss my time at Station 8. Station 8 feels like my home, so it's hard to be leaving. I'm trying to find the positives in it. I guess it'd be good for me to get work at another station, learn another area a little bit more. I
no
love
matter how good a new assignment is. It's still tough to leave,
Yeah.
like a crew that you've built relationships with.
Well, it's just like the Recruit Academy. You get that comfort level.
Yeah.
You get that rhythm. You get the continuity of working who you're working with, and then it's just like,
Yeah.
and you got to go relearn all that again with a whole other set of people.
It's a huge part of your life. You spend almost a third of your life with those guys, and all of a sudden the rug gets yanked out and you're going somewhere else. But try and look at the positives, find a way to grow from it. I am excited to be back at our engine company. I love truck work, but it's great when we get it, but we just don't get that much of it. So I like the engine work too. Just when you're on an engine, I feel like you get to get out there, even with the medical calls, you get to get out there and interact with the public a little bit more, even on stuff that's maybe not super exciting. You're getting out there and helping people.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, I've been on a truck company since 2009, so yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
It's great when you get to do it,
Yeah.
but it definitely has its slow points for sure. Yeah, I feel you there. Well, I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
I'm sure it'll work out.
Yeah,
wonderful.
It'll be fine. And I've worked with those guys at 9 plenty of times and get along great. It's maybe a little slow out there, but I can find ways to fill my time.
Yeah, you'll stay busy.
Yeah.
What have been some of the polarizing moments in your career for you so far in the fire service?
Gotcha. Definitely my time working with the Recruit Academy. I was there. Let's see, that academy started in January of 19. So then COVID became a thing early on in the academy, and we ended up having to work from home. And so I found, and that there was no textbook on how to run a fire academy from a Zoom class.
You said that was 2019?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
God, dude, it's 2021.
Yeah.
We're almost over 2021.
Yep.
And you're talking about COVID.
No, I'm sorry. That would have been January 2020 because COVID started end of 19.
Yeah,
right.
It's still wild though.
Yeah. So just a lot of challenges with that academy, and I hate to sound like I'm complaining, but if I'm being honest, it was hard. It was real hard, and definitely some polarizing moments there. Butted heads with the leadership a little bit. I try not to be too critical of leadership because I've been in leadership positions, and you have to make unpopular decisions. And no matter what you do, someone's going to be mad at you. But I was still mad at them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and man, I learned a lot. I learned a lot just about how the organization works, and how to, when you have problems, how to face them, how to deal with them. I don't know that I'd want to do it again, but in the end, I think I learned some important lessons there.
How did they come about choosing you to be kind of the head of the recruit program? It seems like you started 2017.
Yes.
And then put in charge of new recruits by 2020. That's a 3-year period there. How did they come about putting you in that position?
So I had worked at a station where the battalion chief worked out of for a while, and he and I had a pretty good relationship, and he got moved to be in charge of training. So I think that he kind of handpicked me. Having a fitness background definitely helps a lot with running the academy, because as your role as an academy, it used to be called the liaison position. Now I think they call it recruit training instructor. The recruit training instructor, a lot of what they're in charge of is running physical fitness for the recruits, and then just dealing with day-to-day stuff. You're not necessarily instructing a lot of classes yourself. You're basically just there to be a mentor, put them through workouts, and help them with whatever problems they have. So I think that he saw my background as a Marine, and with fitness, I think he saw that I would be a good fit for the academy. And so since he was in charge of training, he reached out to me specifically, asked me if I wanted to do it. That was a hard decision, because at the time, if you took that position, you were off the rig and you were going to work Monday through Friday with the recruits. Yeah, and it was supposed to be a 6-month deal, and then because of COVID, it ended up being 9 months. But at that point, I wanted to give something back to the department because I felt like it had given so much to me, and I thought it would be a cool way to be positive, have a positive impact on the new people coming in, especially through physical fitness. That's something I'm super passionate about, and I want it done a certain way. So I was like, what better way to make sure that happens than just do it myself? So I was, I accepted it. I was happy to accept it, but I also had my reservations because I was like, man, I'm not going to be on a truck for 6 months. That's a long time. Plus, being this new in the department, I'm like, I'm going to be eligible for Master Firefighter here at my 5-year mark, and I'm missing out on, ended up missing out on a whole year of experience there.
Critical time.
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of experience in other ways, but that was a time when I was coming up as a driver, learning my zone, learning how to drive, that kind of thing. And so I was like, man, this is going to put me behind my peers in a lot of these skills. But I think ultimately, I think it'll be a good thing for me in the long run, which it was, I believe.
Yeah. Conflict, you mentioned that you learned a lot in that time and you had a disagreement or whatever, but that's a huge opportunity. I've learned a lot through basically right after being extremely angry about something. The outcome sometimes is beneficial, sometimes it's not, but I always learn something, and at least you can rest in that. You can still be pissed off, but at least you learned a little something.
Yeah. You can only influence and impact so much. So sometimes you just kind of have to focus on what you can do and what's right around you that you can have impact on. And sometimes things are just out of your control and there's nothing you can do and you just have to accept it.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Yeah. When you got done with the recruits from where you're at now, so what is your next steps? What do you want to do next?
My next steps, so I've hit my 5-year mark, so I'm eligible for Master Firefighter. I'm not necessarily in a huge hurry to go for that. Because like I said, I missed out on 9 months of time. 9 months out of 5 years is pretty significant. But I think with my time at Station 9, that'll give me some time to train and prepare and just put together everything that I need so that I'll be ready for that process when I decide the time is right. So that's kind of my next goal. But also, my wife had a son 11 weeks ago. So really my family is my number one focus. I still want to be the absolute best firefighter that I can be, but just being there for my wife, being there for my son, and being the best dad and husband that I can, those are also a big focus in my life right now.
Did she have any idea what the fire service was before you?
No. We didn't really have any connections to the fire service at all, but she was great. She was fully supportive of it. She saw that I was becoming increasingly unhappy with the business and it was wearing me down. And really, I mean, it was very hard on our relationship. And especially when I was in the academy, she was picking up the slack for me big time. And we had been together for probably 7-8 years at that time. And as we got through that, and I was kind of like, man, if she can put up with me running my business for me while I'm in the fire academy, we weren't married yet. I was like, this is the one. If she can deal with all this shit, she's good. She's good for life. And plus, I'm like, I owe her a serious commitment after everything that she did during that time.
What about the switch from recruit life, where it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, into full-time status now, where the flip-flopping schedule and the 24 hours gone and all this? How does she adjust to that?
Man, she loves it. The schedule
she
works
loves
out.
You being gone?
I think she hates it for those 24 hours, especially now that we have a little one. But she loves the fact that I get to come home for a day and then 4 days at a time, spend all this time with her, with my son. It allows us to go on trips. It allows us to really spend a lot of time together. During the academy, when I was home every night, which she was like, man, this is really great having you home every night. But ultimately it's not near as flexible of a schedule as the shift schedule. So yeah, she enjoys it. We both like it. We have a lot of fun together. We get that 4-day, we get out of town or whatever, and we get the whole day together. She works from home, so we get to spend a ton of time together. And it's definitely hard, those 24 hours I'm gone, or 36 there. We had some mandatory overtime, and I'm like, man, I hate that I'm leaving her home to deal with the baby for all this time. But she's strong and she gets through it. And then when I come home, I just try and pick up the slack as much as I can, do as much as I can to help her out.
Have you noticed? Have you have you noticed any kind of what seems to work best for her when you come home? Do you pick up, like, do you take the baby and you're like, all right, the baby's mine now, you go do your thing? And how does she fit into that? I'm just kind of reflecting on what I went through a little bit, trying to draw some comparisons to see if I'm an oddball.
It kind of goes like this. I come home and I say, "What do you want me to do?"
He's wise. I didn't ask. I just started doing shit.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll usually give some options. I'll be like, okay, do you want me to make dinner? Do you want me to clean the house? Or do you want me to hold the baby? So I put the ball in her court. And then, but lots of times she'll be like, well, I want you to have some time with Rory. So you just take him and I'll make dinner or whatever. But I often just say, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So that way it can just be very clear out there in the open, whatever she needs, trying to help her out with it.
Yeah, to all those listening, that's very wise. That's a wise
That's
choice.
the right play.
Yeah, I didn't do that at all. I just came in and did what my Neanderthal brain said, which is, okay, you're home now, so you need to give her time to do whatever she wants to do. So you need to take on all these tasks that she was doing, and come to find out that's not the best thing. She has a rhythm now, and you're more or less kind of intruding on her rhythm.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your way is way better.
Well, it's a ton of responsibility. I mean, it's a ton of responsibility on both parents, but just the nature of it, it's a lot of weight on the woman's shoulders. I mean, especially when they're breastfeeding. So it's like, I just gotta, again, I don't want to disrupt her rhythm. So I just try and be there to pick up whatever I can.
But you have that urge to want to take it from her, right?
Yeah,
I know you do.
Well, I come home and I'm like, I need to mow the grass. I need to
do this.
I need to clean this. This needs fixed. I need to do all these things.
That's right.
But I'm usually like, well, do those really need to be done, or I just want them to be done? I'm like, what needs to be done is the meals need to be made and the baby needs to be fed and held. So let's focus on that. And then if there's time, I'll do the other things.
There's so much wisdom in age. I swear. I swear. Kids too young.
Yeah.
So much wisdom in age.
It's definitely hard, though. I'm not one to like to sit around all day. And I mean, I love spending time with my son, but at 11 weeks, there's not like we can do a whole lot of activities together. So sometimes I find myself just sitting there with him, maybe read him a book or something. But I'm kind of itching. I'm like, I need to get out in the yard. I need to do this. I need fix this thing or whatever. But again, I'm like, man, the most important thing is that I focus on taking care of my son and making sure my wife's happy. And those other things are just details, really.
I'm sure Steve can attest to this. You just give it a little bit of time, and that little dude is going to be all over your hip.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. For sure.
It's great, man. It's you hear, I've always heard from other parents, I've heard the great things, but you also hear a lot of horror stories, and some people even go as far as like, man, don't do it. It's having a son is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, a daughter would be too, but it's the greatest thing in the world. People always ask me like, what's your favorite thing? My favorite thing in the whole world is coming home after a 24-hour shift, going in, give my wife a kiss, pet the dog, and then go to the baby's room, and he's waking up, take him out of his swaddle, stretches, looks up at me, smiles. When he looks up at me and smiles, I'm like, this is the best thing in the world. I wouldn't trade this for anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, for sure. What are some, we'll get back to the fire service stuff. Not too much gushy family mess.
I guess I've gotten soft in my years.
The fitness guru going soft. The Recon Marine going soft.
Yep, that's okay.
That's what them youngins will do to us.
I'm good with it. I accept it.
Good for you. So since 2017, what are some challenges you see that the fire service is facing now?
Oh, man, there's certainly a lot of them. I think a big one goes back to kind of what we touched on earlier. People come into the fire service lots of times with this like kind of heroic image of what they've seen in movies or what you see in the news, firefighters kicking a door in, going in a building that's on fire, putting water on the fire, rescuing people. And more, that's becoming less of our job. And I think there's people get frustrated with that because we want to do these exciting, hard, challenging things. But more and more, the job is becoming prevention, education, that kind of thing. So, excuse me, definitely a challenge there, trying to stay sharp on those tactical skills and be ready for those super dangerous situations, but also being like on the softer side of things, being out there educating the public or the guys who work in code enforcement, that kind of thing. But I think that presents a challenge because we still have to, at the end of the day, there will always be fires, and we have to be ready to do those things, but we're doing them less and less, which means we need to probably train on them more and more. And also, I think I think it can be frustrating to guys, especially you get a new guy coming in that doesn't realize, like maybe they think we go fight fires every single day, which sometimes we do. But I think sometimes it's almost like a little bit of a disappointment to them that they are not fighting as many fires as they thought they were going to be. And I think that's definitely a challenge for the fire service.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to remember while you were going through that. I was trying to reflect on who told me this story, but it was a younger guy. He was talking to, I think he was either a battalion chief or a house captain in like Detroit. They were having just this casual conversation, and it was we just don't fight fire like you guys. It's different. The service is different up there than it is down here, and the seasoned chief or house captain from Detroit was like, your fires are the exact same. We do them more. We have more of them. So it's second nature to us. So if you ask me, for my opinion, it's more dangerous for y'all than it is for us.
Yeah.
You hear about us in the news and you see all this on social media about us because we do have more of them. But the reality is it's more dangerous for y'all because you don't have as much of it.
Yeah.
So where it's second nature to them because they do it all the time, for us it's almost, if you're not training on it, it's kind of hit and miss when you ever get to do it.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense what you're saying about training for stuff that we don't necessarily have all that much of.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of emphasis gets put on that prevention stuff and the other tasks assigned, if you will. And it seems like we're moving a little bit less away from the shit that actually kills us.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would say another challenge that's related to that too is if someone were to look at the statistics of fires and see that we're fighting less and less fires, then the taxpayers might not want to spend as much money on the fire department, or the council might want to cut the budget back. But we have to realize that even though there are less fires, there are still fires and there are still big dangers out there, and we still have to be prepared for them, even if there are fewer of them.
Well, I'm sure the same thing fits with the city, and Steve, you can definitely back this up. But just because we're fighting less fires, it seems like they don't find less things for us to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
It seems like because we fight less fires, we're doing more of X or more of Y or something like that. So the budget thing to me, shouldn't it really even be a conversation to be had? Because you might be having a hard time justifying a new fire truck or something like that, but your personnel and stuff like that, we're busier than ever.
Yeah.
God, we're doing more stuff than we ever were doing when I first got in. It was training and fighting fire and cutting cars and whatever little bit of Con Ed you had to do. But now it's, we're doing so much. Community risk reduction stuff and
car seats.
Yeah, car seats and all these other tasks that we're being assigned. So it's like, okay, so you pull out fire and you insert this. So I don't think the budget is a good argument as far as funding goes.
I would agree.
In my eyes, because it's just like we're doing more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a separation. I'll submit this to you. You disagree with me if you want, or if you have a good argument. That fire prevention side, fire prevention is important. It needs to exist. I don't think it needs to be line staff doing it. I think the line staff, they've got, so like you're saying, they have so many tasks that they put on the line staff, and then they go to a fire and burn the place down, and everybody gets mad at them. Like, well, they've been so busy with your fire prevention and your testing hydrants and your other stuff, and not actually training for putting out fires. So,
Or not being exposed to fire. Yeah, the lack of exposure itself. Our dear friend Ken Hogue, the best way to get good at fighting fire is to be exposed to fire and fight fire.
Yeah.
So you start taking that away. That makes sense. Totally what you're saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Our prevention side is run by Wendy, a civilian, and she's phenomenal. She does such a good job. She takes on a lot of responsibilities, and she does reach out to us to help out with stuff, and we're happy to help her out. And I think the one side about having the line staff do it is the public just likes to see the firefighters, and they like to hear it from us. But it is still very important that we make time to be ready to fight fires through training and whatever else we need to do.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Our fire prevention side, we don't really have a wing. We just have a person, but they'll task a fire crew with going to a place and doing different things. And so when I go on those assignments, I'm like, this is a gross misuse of us as a crew. You know, we could be doing any number of, well, just the things that we can't already get done because we don't have enough time, and now we have less time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get so frustrated.
Especially when you throw in the staffing issue with that, and we're already short, so we don't necessarily even have the resources to be sending people, especially if it's like something out of zone or something we can't respond from easily, then that could become a problem.
Yeah. We went to this fire prevention thing, and there were, I think, 8 or 9 human beings there, and 7 of them were part of the fire prevention. Yeah. I was doing the math, and I was like, man, this is terrible. It's that sort of thing frustrates me to no end. Yeah. There's an expectation. We're expected to show up and be very good at each part of our jobs. Like, no exceptions. Like, you need to be able to force the door. You need to be able to vent a roof, stretch a hose correctly, all the stuff that you have to do right. And then, but we're going to give you this list of other bullshit that we want you to go do. And then we're going to get mad at you if the fire doesn't go. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's so frustrating. It's not that I'm passionate about it or anything.
Well, you take the what the public's opinion of the fire service was. Traditionally, it's summertime. You go open the plug up and you create a splash pad, and you create this environment for the people who we're trying to teach prevention to, which is the younger generation, the children. And you know, we can't do that anymore because our hands are tied for this reason, that reason. So they try to put us into schools where, I mean, now especially with COVID, you know, our hands are tied so much even more. It's hard to get behind the purpose, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Is it kind of felt the same way?
I don't think we've experienced that maybe quite as much as you guys do. But we definitely stay busy over there, and sometimes we might go a couple days and we're like, man, we haven't really done any training. And it's kind of like, what do we do the whole tour? It's like, I know we were busy, but then what do we do? And it's like, well, we went here for an event, then we had this we had to do, and we had to check a bunch of hydrants, and then there was some training that maybe didn't really feel all that applicable that we had to go do. Right. And then it's like, damn, we need to make some time to do what we really need to focus on, which is fighting fire.
Have y'all, especially you in 2017, being kind of newer, is there, and you can probably bring your military background into this as well, but do you notice the dependence on technology to provide our training now?
Yes.
It's, we experience a lot. Seems like we're behind a desk so much doing skills that we should be putting our hands on and doing, but yet we're simulating them through a computer, or you're answering multiple choice questions on the tasks that you should be providing and being evaluated on. I feel like Scout Sniper School couldn't be performed behind a computer screen.
No, there were no computers in sniper school. There was certainly a classroom portion for each training evolution. But I definitely feel your frustration on that. Sometimes I'm like, I'll use our EMT continuing education as an example. I mean,
I'm gonna walk out.
And it's honestly, I don't know what the deal is, but it's harder to get signed in to complete the Con Ed and sign up for the class than it is to actually do the class. And I'm like, man, we do some hands-on EMT stuff, but a multiple choice test, I mean, it's just, in my opinion, it's not a good way of testing someone's skills or knowledge on a subject. Hands-on would be much, much better.
I feel you if you didn't notice.
Yeah.
I'm not a great EMT. Like I said, I've been on a truck since 2009. Those skills are perishable if you don't practice them.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at it. I can get the job done, but I'm not great at it. Why can't I go get on an ambulance for 12 hours?
Yeah, that would be great.
Satisfy my Con Ed. I would learn so much more.
Yeah. And I think especially with our paramedic, I mean, we have excellent paramedics for the most part in this area.
Agreed.
We're fortunate enough to have an EMS unit at our station. So lots of times if they're not super busy and we're not busy, we pick their brains on stuff, and man, they're awesome. We learn a ton from them.
Yeah. And that's not for everybody. My outlook on that, not everybody's willing to go get on an ambulance for 12 hours to satisfy their Con Ed. Not everybody is.
That's a great idea. I'd love to do it.
Yeah. But for folks like me, I need that.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to go be exposed to it. That's my style of learning. I need to be exposed to it. And I'm not by myself. I mean, I'm not the only weird fireman that we have in the country. So, I mean, why not make it an option? If it's an hours thing, then let's make it an hours thing.
Yeah. I definitely experienced that frustration a lot when I was running the academy, because it's like, I mean, like, man, I want to give these guys a hard workout. You know, I want to push them. Some of them are not in the best shape and they need to be pushed hard. And it's like the instructor would be like, well, I need them in the class 10 minutes early today because we got to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, man, they're trained to be firefighters. Like, they're already going to spend 8 hours in the classroom today. Give me some time to get out there and get hands on. Or like something like throwing ladders. I mean, the ladders class covers a lot, but you don't get good at throwing a ladder until you've done it a bunch of times.
Reps.
Yeah. So it's like, we had a day where a class ended up getting canceled. I was like, perfect. I was like, we're throwing ladders all day long. And we did. And I was like, man, this is probably one of the best days of training we've had in a while, you know, because we just got hands on. No multiple choice test at the end, so no one's stressed out. It's just a very open and free learning environment. No fear of failure, you know. It was just me and the recruits. I'm like, all right, I don't care if you mess it up, but we're going to do it till you get it right. And that was super valuable.
Well, here's what I can guarantee you from your students there. They might have thought it was dumb then, but the one time that training correlates into real world, it means the world.
Yeah.
If they have the ability to draw that in their brain to say, because Kieth spent this entire day doing nothing but this one thing is the reason that I was able to accomplish this task so fluently and so flawlessly, and I hope they can, but that's what makes the difference.
Yeah.
Letter scores on a test.
Yeah.
It's just...
Or something else, like starting a chainsaw. We had another time we had a little break in class. And I'm like, man, we're gonna start some saws here for like an hour or two. We're gonna start them cold. We're gonna start them hot. We're gonna flood them and start them, because it's like, if you didn't grow up using a chainsaw, that's a very foreign and probably somewhat scary tool to you. And it sounds simple starting it. You know, oh, you just pull the cord, but it's like, well, each saw kind of has its own personality. Different brands obviously start different ways, and it's like, you need to know how to start that thing, man, because if you flood it when you need it, you're screwed. So something like that, I was like, I didn't realize that I could talk about starting a saw and put on a chainsaw class for like 2 hours, but we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's, as I've developed through my instructor's career, I take for granted, excuse me, I take for granted a lot the way that I was brought up and the things that I was exposed to growing up. Something as simple as just the example you gave of starting a chainsaw. There's a lot of kids now that are getting into the service that
no clue.
They have no idea.
Never touch a saw in their
Never
life.
touched a ladder.
Yeah.
Never touched a saw. Never touched all these things probably us three grew up doing. It's
man, that came in super handy. I grew up in the country, and my dad taught me how to use a chainsaw. But during Hurricane Florence, there were trees down everywhere in our zone, and a lot of what we did once the storm passed was just go out and clear the roads so we could respond to emergencies. And I was like, man, if I didn't have childhood experience working a chainsaw, I don't know that I'd be very valuable right now in this position.
Right.
And I always thought it'd be super cool if we could have someone with tree experience to come in for the academy for a couple of days and teach simple things like how to safely use a chainsaw and cut trees. You know, you learn how to cut a roof.
Cutting techniques. Yeah.
You learn how to cut a roof, but it's pretty easy to cut, you know, through some plywood with chainsaw. It's a lot different when you're out there cutting a tree that might be bent and under tension and stuff. So I always thought that would be really valuable.
I think it still would be valuable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We really should do something like that.
I think so, especially in
With how
our
many
neck of the woods.
we get so many hurricanes around here. I mean, what do you're responding to a call and there's a tree down in the road. What are you going to do? You're going to have to get that thing out of the way.
Yeah.
I've been to multiple car wrecks too that involved a tree that was broken because the truck broke the tree and it was down, like stuff like that. It's going to happen.
Yeah. That's valuable information.
Fortunately, you know, there's usually somebody who's got some experience. On every crew, there's probably somebody who's got some
At least
experience.
one
with it,
redneck.
Yeah. you got the computer guy like we were talking about. You got to have the redneck too.
At least one redneck.
A lot of people don't have that experience, and it could be, that stuff can be super dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll speak for the redneck community. That's becoming less and less of a thing as well.
Yeah.
Is the just the hands-on, calloused hands, hard farm work. That's becoming less and less too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a strange time for new people in the fire service.
That's for sure.
What advice can you give to new and upcoming firefighters?
Oh man.
You're old, so you don't really count. You started late.
a lot of things come to mind there, but
what would you tell to 19-year-old Keith?
Man, I would just say be eager to learn. Just be very eager to learn. There's something you can learn from everybody, whether it's the computer guy, whether it's the redneck, whether even somebody who on the surface might not look like they're very motivated or knowledgeable. They're probably knowledgeable about something that'll help you. Try and learn something from everybody that you work with, whatever it is. It might help you as a firefighter. It might just help you in life, but you can learn something from everybody. And we spend so much time together. It's a perfect opportunity to pick somebody's brain and figure out what they're strong at and hopefully benefit from that.
What's your style of picking somebody's brain? Are you just straight in there, hey, can you tell me about this? Or
I get maybe just like you strike up a conversation with somebody, as you're getting to know them, you find out what their interests are, and maybe you just keep digging a little bit deeper into that. Trying to think of an example here. I don't know.
Yeah, well, just what you were saying. 19-year-old Keith in 2021, striking up a conversation could be difficult.
Yeah,
it's different. I have a 19-year-old in the back of my truck right now. So yeah, just him. He's different. He doesn't mind asking questions and stuff like that. But I've had several that are older than him that they lack the communication skills. They just don't ask.
Yeah.
Which makes it challenging for folks like myself, you, Steve, Captain Hunt. I mean, it makes such a challenge because you don't know how to gauge what they do and do not know if you can't get feedback from them.
And you don't want to just assume that they know something.
Yeah, well,
you almost have to assume that they don't know anything.
Yeah, that's tough for me. I had a good conversation with Brian Miller. He's a older fireman. He's new into the fire service. I think he's 50 plus. He's 14. He's at Station 14. He's a fireman, but I mean he's served an entire career through the school system.
That's right. Yeah, principal or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. He came to our hiring process.
He's great. Yeah. He's a super good dude. But I wrote up on the captain's position on Engine 14 a couple weeks ago, and I brought in some elk meat, some elk that I had killed with me and my father, and he asked 150 billion questions about hunting and these kind of things. And he was like, dude, I'm sorry that I'm asking so many questions. I think meat comes from Harris Teeter and potatoes are grown in the back of the grocery store. He said, I don't know any different. And I was like, dude, it's fine. It's fascinating. As much as you're fascinated with what it is that I do to hunt, I'm just as fascinated that you don't have any idea about it. So I feel like that's kind of the ongoing struggle that we're going to have to be dealing with in the future is they just don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's fascinating to us that they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, how do you not know?
Yeah. How do you, yeah.
Yeah. I think my advice to a 19-year-old version of me is if you're near anybody with a trade, learn it. Ask about, teach me how to do whatever, tile work or whatever it is, hunting, but learn those trades. Like you were saying,
Absolutely.
ask questions.
And that's something that's somewhat unique to the fire service because you have so many people with outside jobs that you get a lot of different things. You got guys that are plumbers, electricians, hunters, whatever it might be. There's one guy in the department who does. There's one guy for everything. You know? So
you're right about that. Yeah.
You can learn a lot from those people. I guess the other thing in this day and age, if you have a question, you got YouTube, you got Google. I mean, go to the people too, but you can watch YouTube videos. You can find 10 different ways to do anything. And I've learned a lot that way, not necessarily about firefighting, but just I like to do projects around the house, build stuff, or if something breaks and I'm like, man, I've never fixed this before. YouTube it, you can figure it out. There's so much information out there.
That's absolutely true.
Or even fire service related, because you might think, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. Somebody's probably found it, or that there might be five different ways to do it on YouTube, and you can try them all and decide which one you like the best.
Yeah. In the Marine Corps, is a reputation similar to how it is in the fire department?
The reputation?
Yeah.
In recon, your reputation is everything. Is absolutely everything. And one of the first things I remember my instructors telling us is your reputation starts today, on day one. It's not down the road. It's not when you deploy. It starts right now, and it will stay with you forever. And that was the most true thing. I mean, here I am. I've been out for 13 years, and when I get together with my buddies, it's like you remember that guy who didn't have the best reputation. It's still the same way. And if you start out and make a bad reputation for yourself, you can recover it, but it's hard. It's definitely
hard. Yeah. Fire department, same way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that something that you put into the recruits?
Yes.
Good for you.
It was. I was like, your reputation, it actually, like day one of the academy, I was like, your reputation started during your interview. We already know all this stuff about you.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. What is the saying? A good reputation takes a lifetime to build, but 10 minutes or 10 seconds, something like that, to destroy. Yeah, something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah. And we all, we're all human. We're all prone to making mistakes, but you don't want to make it a habit.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say even if making mistakes is a habit, just recognizing that you made mistakes.
Yeah,
it's
that's
probably a bigger.
And owning it.
Yeah.
Man, when somebody messes up and they're like, oh man, I did something really dumb. I messed up. Like, it's hard for me to even be mad at them.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, let's fix this.
Yeah, you're right. You're pretty stupid there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the worst is when somebody messes up and they don't want to own it, because then it's like, well, how can we fix this if you don't even own it? That's the first step in fixing this situation is owning that you messed up.
Yeah. Admitting you messed up on something corrects it for you, and everybody else sees that mistake, and you're like, damn, I don't want to make that mistake. So you just got to learn from somebody else's mistake.
Yeah.
But if you try to hide it or cover it up, then everybody loses.
Yeah. And people are going to see, man.
Oh, yeah.
You spend so much time together, you can't hide.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mistakes happen.
For sure.
I forced the door to the wrong house my first day on my new assignment at 18. Yeah.
But you won't do that again.
No, yeah. Yeah.
So it's
happen.
been long enough now that I feel comfortable telling this story. But
is this the first time?
I told it to maybe like 2 people.
Woo! Now you're gonna tell it to thousands.
Yeah. When it happened, I was like, I'm never telling anyone this story. I was brand new. I was on Engine 8, still on probation. I've probably been online 3 weeks, out mowing the grass. It was yard day. Get a call for an overdose. I'm excited, man. I'm jacked up. I think it was my first overdose. I was like, let's go. Run to the truck, set my radio down, get my bunker pants on, get on the rig, get my gloves on. We're going. I'm like, where's my radio? I'm like, damn, I don't know what I did with that thing. Starting to panic a little bit. Shit. I'm like, I don't really need it because I'm the probie, but I'm like, but I do need it. It's my radio.
Yeah.
If this were a fire, this would be really bad. And the whole time I'm just freaking out. I'm thinking about like, what do I need to do with this overdose? But I'm also like, where did I put my radio? Get to the overdose, do our thing, get the guy back. I'm like, man, that was cool, but I'm also freaking out right now because I still don't know where it is. Walking back to the rig, I see it, and it's sitting like right under the pump. There's like the little
side step.
Yeah, the side step right there. And it fell down in the crack between the side step and the cab, and it's just sitting right there.
Lucky you.
Yeah, lucky me. And I'm like, dude, I'm glad we made a right turn out of the station, because if we'd have made a left, that thing would be out in Eastwood Road run over right now.
Yeah.
And I took it, and I was like, oh, here.
Yeah.
Had it the whole time.
And I'm like,
Freebie Friday. Yeah.
And I'm like, I am never telling anyone that story. But here I am. I figured I'd share it. And I did. I shared it with my recruits, because I was like, look, I'm going to tell you a time when I messed up, and you can learn from it. I said, don't ever set anything on the rig.
Yeah.
Because it will end up in the road. Eventually, it will end up on the road.
I can attest to that. I have lost 2 cell phones because of that. Engineer's compartment, that's where my bunker pants stay. First thing that happens is you take all your stuff out of your pants pockets before you slide your bunker pants on. So phone comes out, wallet comes out, whatever. Bunker pants go on, grab the wallet, phone stays laying right there. Take off down the road, get back, no phone. Yeah, I've done that with 2 phones.
Yep.
Yeah, one of them actually has a funny story. I found it. It didn't make it far. It fell just like where yours got hung. The phone fell through that crack and was run over by the rear tandems.
Oh.
So it was in a life-proof case, so it kind of held together a little bit. I put it in a Ziploc bag and went to U.S. Sailor the next day and walked in, and the lady was like, "Hello, can I help you?" And I held the phone up in the plastic bag, and I was like, "My charging port won't work. I don't know what's wrong." She was like, "Oh, no." So, that's funny. I just got back from advanced boat operator school with that phone. It stayed in my chest rig of my PFD the whole time, so it was in water and everything else. Made it through all that just fine, but couldn't handle that 89,000-pound truck.
No.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Yeah,
And-
I've said a lot of things down right there,
Yeah.
brother. A
And
lot of
man,
things.
so much of like being good at our job is just like simple things. Like remember where you put your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How many radio straps have been hung on that side handle by the door getting in
Yep.
that are flapping going down the highway?
I don't hang mine there. Not anymore.
Yeah, I've definitely made a turn and caught something in the mirror and like, oh no, and somebody's radio is like leaned down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Mm-hmm. So with primary complete and stuff like that, we do talk pretty heavily on the mental health aspect of things. We very rarely get to talk to folks that are less than 5 years or sometimes even 10. A lot of our guests are kind of matured in their fire service career. It would be interesting to hear kind of hear your take on what the mental health side of things is going from somebody with 5 years or less. When you were brought into the fire service and when you started in the fire service, how was behavioral health and mental health, even obviously it's in the forefront of everybody now, but how was that kind of presented to you when you started?
Yeah, so during the academy, one of our very first classes was health and wellness, and it was kind of addressed there. And we were lucky the guy who ran it, Lance Nelligan, ran that class, and he was awesome because he was a good instructor, but he was also like not so formal with it, and kind of like he felt like a big brother. So it felt like someone that you could really listen to about something like that, or you could feel comfortable going to him about. But one of the things he told us, I remember very specifically, he was like, "You're going to see a lot of death in this job, and it might affect you, and it might affect you all different." And then he kind of went into mental health from there. But it was refreshing that it was addressed so early on. And it's a hard topic because I think not a lot of people like to talk about it. And it's also a hard topic because mental health and how we deal with things kind of looks different for every single person. So there's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of solution to it. And that's why I think it is super important then that we talk about it, because what works for me might not work for you, and so on. So it was definitely something that was touched on, and it's being touched on even more now. And especially at my station, a couple of the guys at my station have put together a kind of a pilot program with bringing a service dog into the station. And the main driver for that is to help with mental health. And just having a dog at the station is cool.
Seems cool.
Yeah.
It seems very neat.
Yeah, it's a stress reliever. And this dog is highly, highly trained. He can, I guess he can sense your cortisol levels, and he knows to go comfort you if you seem really stressed out. He's able to wake you up if you're having a bad dream. But even all that stuff aside, just having a dog at the station is huge for us. And it's cool that the department was so welcoming to accept that program and let us at least give it a shot. So I think there is a big push for it. And it's like, again, no one's exactly sure maybe how to go about it. People always tell you, oh, there's so many resources, go talk to somebody. But to a lot of people, I think that's really intimidating to go talk to somebody. And I think we could probably all benefit from that, but that still, to me, is only really part of the solution with addressing mental health. I think that you kind of have to find what works for you a little bit, but be there for each other too is a big part. But yeah, it's definitely refreshing to see it going in that direction.
How did that dog program come about?
So
You have my interest.
Yeah, so Zach Wisenhunt, he was he's off probation now at my station. His wife runs an amazing organization. It's called Pause for People, and they train dogs to be service dogs for all different types of needs, whether it's someone with PTSD, someone I couldn't give you necessarily all the specifics of it, but they train dogs for various different purposes and place them with people. And Zach has a dog, and he was like, would it be cool if I brought the dog to the station? And we were kind of like, yeah, of course, man. Plus, like, if it's a service dog, can anyone really say no? And we're like, well, let's just go for it, man. I don't think they can tell us no.
Yeah.
I like your style.
And then that kind of evolved. Then other stations were like, what? You guys got a dog? How'd you guys do that? We want a dog. And so
I'm trying to get a hamster. Shit. I'm trying to get anything.
So then we're kind of like, man, like we might be able to turn this into something that could be really beneficial, not just for our department, but maybe become a model for other departments. So we started raising money. We made a calendar where we're all
saw that
shirtless with puppies. Caught hell for it. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
It's still in the works. We're kind of testing it out. Obviously, there has to be a lot of communication with other shifts. Believe it or not, I don't know how, but not everyone loves dogs. So we have to make sure that the people who are not crazy about dogs are okay with it. We have to make sure that we're doing a good job of cleaning up after the dog, that kind of thing. But so far, I think it's been really positive. And so that's just one other thing that we're doing for mental health that seems to be helping. And at the very least, bringing awareness to the issue.
Yeah, I think we talk about it often on this show for sure, but just the conversation has got to be key, where it's not this taboo kind of weird thing. So just the conversation is part of it. I'm very interested about this dog stuff. Mm-hmm. Very interested.
Yeah, I mean, come by or give us a call, get you in touch with the people,
Yeah.
and we'll see what we can do with it.
I'm very interested.
It's a huge 180 from when I got out of the Marines in 2008. It was like came back from Iraq from a pretty crazy deployment. We were very fortunate. We didn't lose anybody, but we still experienced some pretty traumatic things, and even just the adjustment of coming home from a war zone. And they're like, "Oh, hey, hold up real quick. Before you guys go on terminal leave, fill out this form real quick and let us know if you got PTSD or not. But if you do, if you say yes, then you gotta go over here and talk to the psychologist. But the rest of you guys can go home." And so we're like, of course, we're like, no. All right, we're out of here. See it. And it's kind of like, well, that seemed like a half-ass attempt at best. So then I think the Marine Corps and the military in general has probably gotten a lot better than that since 2008 because it's become such an issue. But I'm glad to see the fire service addressing it as well, because it's a major issue, not just in our field, but I mean really for the whole country, for various numbers of reasons. But it's just so important to take care of yourself, and whether that's through exercise, through some type of stress relief, through an activity that you enjoy. You got to take care of yourself. When you get those days off, like it's so important, I think, to decompress and do something that you enjoy. For me, fitness obviously has always been a huge, huge outlet for me. That's something that it keeps me level, keeps me feeling good. But also, just having time to myself. Like I love the guys I work with. I love being at the station. But when I get home, I find it's really like refreshing for me to just have some solitude. Just hang out with my wife and son, or even just be by myself for a little while, work in the yard, those kind of things. For me, it's like recharging the battery. And it's when I don't get to do that I start getting worn down. I can start feeling stressed. And that stuff can make you behave in ways that you might not even realize it at first, but it kind of builds. And then you're like, damn, like, why did I act like that? And like, oh, probably because I'm super stressed out because I've been going hard for so long without taking a break. But if to be the best at your job and just be the best person that you can be, you've got to make time for yourself to recharge those batteries and do whatever it is that makes you feel good. And I think people need to figure that out for themselves, whatever it is. It's not going to look the same for everybody.
Do you believe the kind of that secondary job, because we all have them? Do you think that can hinder that time to figure out by yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably for some it could be a help, but then some it probably could hinder as well.
I could see that going either way. If you've got a job that a second job that is a good stress reliever for you or gives you a sense of purpose or whatever, then that's great. But we're already working so many hours a week, especially if you're up all night running calls, or you see something bad and then first thing in the morning you got to clock out and go to your second job. I mean, you're not really getting a chance to deal with that and decompress from it. And that's going to just build up and wear on you over time. So, I'm not sure what the solution is for that. It's hard for a lot of guys that, work in so many jobs because that stuff just builds up and builds up. And again, it's going to make you behave in ways that might surprise you and might not necessarily be good.
Yeah, too much continuous exposure, I think, is part of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm on FMLA right now. I haven't been at work in a little while, and being away for a little bit makes you realize that the whole planet is not running these calls. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
after working for a number of years, it's like reality starts to assume that point of view. And being away for a little bit, I wouldn't obviously have chosen this reason to be away, but that's been my silver lining, is kind of that mental reset of, the world turns for a lot more reasons than just what's going on at the firehouse. And
Absolutely. It's you gotta find what it is, whether it's go fishing, go build something in the shop, go for a walk, go exercise, spend time with somebody that makes you feel good. You've got to make time to do that stuff, because it's just like cleaning your tools or putting fuel in the truck. It's that important.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna kill an animal and eat it.
There you go. If that's what makes you feel good, I mean,
or kill a plant and eat it, whichever.
Yeah. And I think another side of that is we need to be aware of each other, and when someone is acting different, not being themselves, we need to check in on them. And it's very cliche to say, hey, I'm here for you, man. What's going on? But I think maybe we need to be a little bit more proactive than that too. Like, it's good to reach out to somebody and say, how you doing? But maybe get them to break that cycle, because that's a lot of depression and anxiety. What it is, it's a cycle. It's like a continuous feedback loop, and you've got to break someone out of that. So maybe you say, hey man, let's go fishing. Hey, let's go for a run. Hey, let's go grab a beer. Get that person out of that cycle. And get them out of their head a little bit, and not just tell them that you're there for them. Actually, be there for them. I think that's
great
huge.
Advice. Yeah,
because I reach out to friends. Hey, how you doing, man? How you doing? I'm here for you. Those words are great, and it excuse me, and it does. Getting choked up over here.
Yeah.
Those words are great, and it does mean something. But I think it's better when there's action behind it. And when you're feeling down, and someone's like, hey, man, are you okay? Well, you're probably going to say, yeah, I'm fine. But
of course you are.
Yeah, of course you are. But if you're like, hey, man, let's go fishing. Hey, man, let's go whatever. Now you're getting that person out of that little bubble a little bit, and you're showing them that you care, and you're, again, just kind of breaking that cycle that's going on in their head. And not being afraid to, like, ask the hard questions, like, hey, like, that call we went on the other day, that was really messed up, man. Like, how are you doing with that? Maybe tell them how you feel. Maybe then they won't, because not everybody feels comfortable talking about it,
Sure.
But maybe if they hear you be like, yeah, that was tough. They kind of like, I kind of been dwelling on that. It kind of messed me up a little bit. Then maybe they're going to feel better about coming out and talking about it too. So we've got to really be there for each other, not just with words, but with actions.
I like to think of the mental health kind of dialogue and conversation going much like this show has been tonight. You didn't know much about me prior to the show. You probably knew less about Steve, and Steve obviously knew less about you than I did. But I could see you on the street. I know who Kieth is, and I could say, hey man, what's up? What's going on? Tell me about Kieth. And about 5 minutes would go by, and you would probably feel like you told me about Kieth, but yet we've been down here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we're still learning about Kieth. So I feel like the mental health conversation kind of goes like that. You can say, hey, man, how you doing? I'm okay. Whether you say, hey, let's go fishing. Now you got them on a boat. So now we're taking this conversation and we're making it, not to sound weird, but a little bit more intimate.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
a little bit more personal. So you kind of, like you said, you disrupt this cycle. And now you've opened up this window to where we can have this long format conversation and not be weird.
Yeah.
It's not weird.
Yeah. I think it's got to be more.
I'm digging that breaking the cycle theory.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it's got to be more than just that surface level kind of like, you got to be, and it's hard, but you got to dig a little deeper with people and get them to actually open up to you.
It's almost getting just to be like when you hear about somebody's mother or father or grandmother or whatever it may be, but a family member dying, and you hear about that, you want to send a text or you want to call them and say, hey man, sorry for your loss. If there's anything I can do, please reach out. And it's like, fuck, is that the best I can do? I mean, but what what are you supposed to do?
Right.
You know,
But how many of those people are actually going to reach out, you know? So it's
Yeah.
almost like, maybe not force isn't the right word, but in a way you kind of got to force it on them.
sure. Yeah. Sticky. It's
I know when my wife had our son, a lot of people were like, if you need anything, let us know. And my wife, she had found this website where you can create a schedule where people bring you meals. And I was like, man, that is awesome. So then people were like, is there anything I can do for you? And I'm like, yeah, you can go to this website and bring us dinner one night.
do you have to have had a baby for that?
The podcast just started meals.
Yeah, right. Man, I thought that was such a cool idea, and it was so helpful in that first week or two. We had someone brought us dinner, a different friend brought us dinner every night for like 2 weeks.
That's
and
what's up.
I'm like, man, this was extremely helpful. We didn't have to go to the grocery store, didn't have to cook, didn't have to clean.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was more than just words. There was action behind it, and it actually was extremely helpful. And you know, it was like I thought it was weird at first. I was like, oh, don't do that. Like don't worry about that. Like that's weird. We're like, we don't need people to cook for us. But it was like, in a way, it was kind of like we were asking for help, and people gave it to us, and it was super helpful. So you know, that's just an example, but actually putting some action behind those words is, I think, huge.
It's a win-win because instead of sending that text, you actually get to take the meal over. So the people that want to help get to help, and you're accepting help.
Yeah,
So,
and people like to help, especially your friends. They want to help you.
Right.
And then I was like, man, next time our friend has a baby, we're bringing them so many dinners. Like, we're going to set this up for them. We're going to hook them up because people did it for us, so we're going to pay
Right.
it forward.
Right. That's an interesting point to wonder how many folks would actually say, okay, do this for me.
Yeah.
And then see what that would look like on the other end. That's an interesting point. There's so many unknowns and so many statistics I wish we had.
Yeah.
When it comes to mental health and that particular topic.
And you
What?
look at like somebody, the worst end of it, somebody who's suicidal, right? You check on them, how you doing? They're not going to be like, I'm suicidal. They're probably not going to tell you that.
Never.
So you're going to have to dig a little deeper, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And hopefully you're close enough with that person that you can do that, but you're going to have to push them a little bit to get them to talk, get them out of their comfort zone, get them to address it, and then actually show them that you're there for them, however that is, which again is going to look different for
That's
everybody.
why I say it's complex issue.
Very.
yeah.
It's, we're we're very hard on each other around the firehouse, but we also need to know the right time to not be hard on each other and to be there for each other.
I think for us 15-year guys, probably that's difficult.
Yeah.
Because that's all I know. Is when times get hard, a tough call or whatever it may be. Dark humor that's default.
Yeah.
That's default. So, and I believe that's got its place.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't. Shame on me because it shouldn't be forefront in my brain. But that's a mold that's got to be broke. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, it's.
I'll
Yeah.
kind of, we resort to the dark humor too, but then
course.
I try and, especially like since with my background in the military and I've been to war and stuff, I try and be a little bit more open about it, even more than what I'm comfortable with, just because I feel like if people see me talking about it, they'll be like, well, this dude's done some shit. If he's willing to talk about it, then,
Yeah, set that
then
example.
I'll talk about it too.
It's
And if I'm
different-
like, hey man, that kind of like messed me up a little bit, then they might not feel so bad about being like, yeah, that messed me up too, man.
well, see, the difference is you're a good person and I'm not.
Let's not get too carried away.
Right.
That advice is kind of geared toward the helper, but in the same way, somebody might be listening that is in the spot that needs the help. That cycle being broken. If somebody's offering to help take you fishing
Take
or
it.
whatever, go do something.
Yeah.
Get out of that cycle. How many times have you heard somebody say, like, when they get around a corner or get past something, like, man, I just couldn't see it clearly. I just was in this fog or in the funk, whatever. You can call it a million things, but that's how you get to see it different. Is break that cycle. Go fishing. Go do whatever.
Yeah.
Accept it. Accept the
Yeah.
offer.
Man, I got one of my buddies from the Marines, my buddy Brandon. I got a lot of good friends from that, but it's like he just knows when to call me, man. Like if I'm having a bad day or something, and he doesn't text, and I'm always like, I'm not a big talker on the phone. Like I'm like, yo, send a text message. Yeah. But when Brandon calls me, man, I always answer. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of busy. Like I don't really have time to talk. But every time I talk to him, like he just makes me feel good. And I find myself, I get off we talk for 5 minutes. I get off the phone. I'm like, dude, I feel so much better after talking to him, man. Like he just has that ability to just brighten your day no matter what.
That's cool.
Sounds like my mom.
Right?
Every time I'm having a bad day or I've had a bad night or a long night or anything like that, it's like the first message on the phone the next morning or the first phone call or whatever. It's like, hey, just thinking about you, praying that you had a good day or have a good day or something like this. It's like, how do you know?
And it just brings you back, man. It's a reminder that you got people that care about you and are behind you, and it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kieth, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and turn it into Kieth Nelson's fire service, what would that look like?
Oh man,
is that too vague, or do you need to get a little more specific?
No, I can see the vision in my head right now.
Oh God!
Damn.
I gotta say, like, it looks a lot like Wrightsville Beach Ocean Rescue.
Oh God!
It's like the things that I love about that organization. We have such a broad group of people. Our youngest is like 19, our oldest in their 50s, and everybody like gets along so well and has each other's back. But like we push each other. Like probably the biggest thing I love about it is we work out together 3 times a week, and it's paid. It's mandatory and it's paid. Everybody comes in and we do a workout together, and it's not always the same thing. And we have runners out there. We have some people who are super fast swimmers. Everybody's a decent swimmer, but you know, so not every person's going to crush every workout, you know what I mean? But like that, it's such a good team builder and such a good exercise and camaraderie that I'm like, that's part of what draws me to it so much. And it's like, sometimes I wish that we could have a little bit more of that, like a little bit more structured, not just PT, but just the PT is so good though. It just builds that camaraderie.
There's something magical about going through some sort of hardship or some sort of conflict as a group.
Yeah.
There's something magical about that builds a relationship.
Yeah. And it's competitive, but in a good way, in a healthy way. Competition, taken too far, I think, can become kind of somewhat toxic, but in the right dose, done the right way, I think competition can really bring out the best in people and really bring a team together. So sometimes I wish the fire service had a little bit more of that. Like competition, maybe from company to company, firehouse to firehouse. I think it would create a lot more pride, a lot more unit cohesion and pride within the station and the company, and ultimately within the department too. So I don't know exactly what that would look like, but some type of a little bit of competition from house to house just to bring out the best in everyone.
It seems like I've discussed this, that very thing. As a matter of fact, what you're talking about, I play a small role on the performance wellness team for Hanover County, but it seems like it always gets shot down because we can't do this because it'll single somebody out, or it'll single this company out, or it'll make this group of people feel less than or something like that. So it seems like it's always there's such great intentions, and what I know is true, which is just what you said, that it's going to be so beneficial for everybody. It's just like there's always an issue.
Yeah, we've kind of faced that same thing. And you know what? And maybe it would make them feel less, but maybe it would make them want to be better.
Yeah.
And that would make everyone better. But it's got to be done. It's got to be done right, for sure. And it's kind of a fine line to walk. You don't want it. You don't want it to be so competitive where, people are like hating each other over it, that kind of thing. But where it's like done right, where everyone's pushing each other to be better and everyone's taking a lot of pride in what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Sounds amazing.
It does. Mm-hmm. Whenever you create your fire service, let me know where to turn an application because I want to be a part of it.
Sounds good.
For sure. Steve, anything you want to add?
Oh man, thanks for coming on the show.
Man, thank you guys so much for having me. I had a blast.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure, man.
Yep.
All right, brother.
Y'all take care.
All right.
Shut her down.
Later.